Well, hey, good morning again, everybody. It's Father John Wilson here. We are continuing our look at the life and the writings of servant of God, Mary Teresa Tallon, founder of the Parish Visitors of Mary Immaculate. And yesterday we saw how important prayer was for her and her sisters. That life of constant meditation on the truths of the Catholic faith. How it was in keeping God, constantly before their eyes, that they built the knowledge and the love and the conviction that enabled them to share Him in a living and a compelling and a friendly way in their visits to the people they were reaching out to. And today I want to focus on how their love for the truths of our faith very much included even the most challenging teachings, even those teachings that are sometimes the hardest for people to accept when it comes to the moral life. I think we see in our world today, and this idea has even started to creep into the church to a certain extent. A kind of a lazy assumption that the moral teaching of the church, and this is probably especially the case in our church's teachings about sexual morality, that okay, that teaching presents an ideal situation, but as soon as we look at the practical situations of people's lives, we see how it doesn't always apply. That's a very prominent idea, and it's an excuse for a lot of people to kind of shove the teachings of our church off to the side. And Mother Mary Teresa Tallon and her parish visitors are really a powerful witness against that perspective, right? Because on the one hand, they were completely unafraid of the mess of the practical situations of people's lives, right? They're befriending folks in all situations, especially the poor, especially those who live in broken homes, and they're going right into those homes with cheerfulness, with grace, with charity, and yet both at their founding and today as well. You're never going to meet anyone more devoted to the fullness of the gospel, the fullness of our church's teaching when it comes to all aspects of our lives, and how they hold these two things together is a deep appreciation of what it means for God to be creator. Remember Mother Tallon's catchphrase from yesterday, make much of God. Our God is not some distant watchmaker. When we say He's creator, we mean that He's the creator of each and every human soul. He's more present to us than we are to ourselves. He knows us better than we know ourselves. And so when He teaches us how to live, He knows what He's talking about. He knows what He's talking about. And Mother Tallon and the parish visitors could speak with conviction about this, especially because they spent so much time meditating on God's rights over even their souls. Cultivating that attitude of humility in His presence. And because they did that, they saw very much the fruits of obedience, even difficult obedience. Because when we say that God is our creator, what we mean as well is that His commands for our lives are not arbitrary. They're not abstract. They're actually they're the instruction manual, from our Creator who intends our happiness. And the parish visitors had a very powerful window into this, because they saw how much misery is caused by sin, including and often especially sexual sin. The Catholic Church gets accused so often these days of being obsessed with sex, which is not the case. It's the world that is. But the Church certainly does notice that probably more suffering than any other kind of suffering in our world is caused by a misunderstanding of what our bodies are for. That stuff, that hurt goes deep, and we see it all around us in our world. That's true today. That was true in the 1920s. This was the quote unquote the Jazz Age. This is a time of economic prosperity, but also a loosening of morals. And Mother Mary Teresa Tallon saw in a powerful way how this affected, especially those on the bottom. And she and her sisters were able to be a witness for the love of God, especially in these situations. People trying to make sense of their lives, people trying to put their lives together. And they were able to witness by their presence, and all the more from their conviction that there is a better way, that it is possible to love and to serve God. And this is so much of the practical work they do is, they would, meet people who were, not married in the church, and just kind of been shacking up for years or decades even. And they would, eventually get them to invite the priest into their home to get them truly married in the eyes of God. Maybe they've got kids who had never been baptized. Well, they brought the preparation for that baptism right into the home. They were able to be clear-eyed in some of the ways that people were going astray. Like, hey, why are you hanging out around with him? Think about it. Does he really desire your good? And especially for a lot of young women in these homes, in meeting the sisters and meeting someone who actually does desire their good, they gained a new perspective on the company they kept. And even for the most hardened and lifelong of sinners, there was that opportunity to give a gentle invitation. Hey, go to confession, be reconciled with God. What do you have to lose? This was possible because the servant of God, Mary Teresa Tallon, and the women she gathered around her were devoted to the fullness of the Catholic faith in all its details, in all its challenges. And they did indeed make much of God. God bless you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.